Today we're going to look at items that you wouldn't normally expect to see associated with home inspections. I mean, have you ever wondered how fish survive in frozen lakes and ponds and why icebergs and ice cubes float? And then I've wondered why people might even consider fish would have something to do with your foundations. Well, it's got something to do with water. Water's a molecule made up of two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. That's why it's known as H2O. But then, what's that got to do with fish and foundations? Water molecules have a positive and negative electrical charge, and therefore they're said to be dipolar. Yep, I said dipolar, not bipolar. Normally they're fairly compact, closely coupled and very dense. This makes it heavier for the same amount of water in the same space. But as it cools down, the molecules stop running around and they form into hexagonal crystals. At 4 degrees the water is the most dense, and anything below that the water actually expands. So in warm weather, if you take a pond or a lake, you'll see that the life is pretty active. If you were to look at the pond itself at a lower level, you'll see that the water molecules are dashing around, transferring oxygen around everywhere. Now, in winter, when everything starts to cool down, things change, and the water molecules actually expand as they cool down. Now, because they expand, they're lighter. The heavier ones, the water molecules, actually fall to the bottom, and the lighter ones push to the top, form an ice lens. That expands. So the heavier water drops, the colder water is actually moving up because it's less dense, gets to the ice, cools down and stays there. The warmer level is at the bottom of the pond. So because of this movement, it actually transfers oxygen around the pond and the lakes. In addition to that, once the ice is formed, it forms a thermal barrier from the outside to stop the water below the ice freezing. That's why it doesn't freeze all the way through. In addition to that, the pond and the lake actually get some heat radiated from the earth. So the fish in the pond continue to survive, albeit they slow down so they don't burn as much oxygen. So now we'll talk about foundations. Well, what is a foundation? Well, essentially it's a big hole in the ground that's dug, and then they put some footings in and the foundation wall. They put some aggregate underneath the basement slab, weeping tile to actually wick away the water, a sill plate. The sill plate actually supports the framing and the wall, and then they backfill between the earth and the foundation. Now, obviously over the years the water actually seeps into the land from these troughs, downspouts, rain, and this water, if left unchecked, will gradually move towards the foundation wall. If the foundation wall's porous, then you'll see it on the inside in the basement. Over time, obviously, the water will accumulate anywhere it doesn't drain away, so it will sit on the top of the soil, down the sides of the foundation, in the backfill, which is okay until the temperatures drop below freezing. Now, when the temperature drops below freezing, the water in the ground above the frost level starts to freeze. As it freezes, as we've seen before, it expands. The problem is it expands and pushes the soil and anything else in its way out of the way. In the case of a foundation wall, it could actually cause a bulge. This is actually called frost heaving. The interesting thing is the water below the frost line doesn't freeze. Alternatively, the freezing water could stick to the foundation wall, and as it raises, it splits the wall horizontally right across the foundation. Don't allow heavy machinery, trucks and things, to drive within 3 feet of your foundation wall. Now, this may sound strange, but there are many driveways that run along the side of a foundation wall, and these driveways are obviously built for smaller cars, so large trucks, delivery trucks, things like that, they can actually apply pressure which compacts the soil and stops it draining properly. Plants, trees and shrubs near your foundation wall will actually accumulate water in the root balls, and this adds to any moisture that might be available during the freezing. Don't regrade the soil or build up the soil near the foundation wall. Ideally it should run away from the foundation. And then on top of that is to make sure that anything that's designed in your house to move water away from the foundation, you're kept clear of any debris and leaves. So keep your drains clear of debris and leaves, the eaves troughs. Any overflow from the eave trough will obviously run straight down the side of the house and down into the foundation wall. Keep the downspouts clean and ensure they run away from the house. And monitor the basement wall on the inside if you can, if it hasn't been finished, for moisture. If it starts to show serious signs of moisture, call in a specialist. Now, assuming you've done all the preventive maintenance I've just discussed, and you're still seeing damp walls, or you're moving into a home that is showing signs of frost heave or add freezing on the outside, and don't forget it doesn't just affect the walls, it affects pavements and sidewalks, you might want to have a foundation specialist look at the foundations to make sure that there are no major problems. The trouble is, if you go to this stage, the foundation specialist might say you require new backfill, or a new perimeter drain, new foundation wall treatments where the foundation wall hasn't been shimmed with damp-proof membrane, and worst case scenario obviously underpinning if there's sufficient movement in the foundation wall or the footings underneath. None of these procedures are cheap, and obviously they're the last resort. If you're not sure, you might want to have a home maintenance inspection first. Obviously a home inspector is much cheaper than having an engineering specialist, and generally a home maintenance inspection covers all the points of the home that could actually lead to moisture, plus many others. So it's a very inexpensive way of making sure that the home that you're either living in, or that you're selling, or that you're moving into, or hoping to move into, is in good condition. The picture in this slide shows a concrete block wall that has serious signs of cracking, and the cracking has been caused by add freezing. This is where the ice, if you remember, sticks to the outside of the foundation wall and lifts the foundation wall up. As you can see with the blue arrows, this is where the wall is lifted, leaving the corner section intact at the lower level. Now obviously, unchecked and unsorted, this would actually cause problems longer down the line if it hasn't already. You can see from the discoloration of the blocks that there are some moisture intrusion. And moisture will get in wherever there's a crack, and where there's moisture, there's eventually fish. But more seriously, where there's moisture, when it freezes, there's ice, and ice expands, and it just exacerbates the problem. So these are the things that we look for in a home inspection. One of the many things. Future-proof home inspections should be the top of your list when you're looking for a home inspection. We inspect it once, and we inspect it right. We provide reports that are honest, accurate, and detailed. We work for you as a home buyer, or if you're selling your home, or if you're just staying in your home and you want to keep it in a tip-top condition. Just remember, anyone else is just looking around. We are proud certified home inspectors belonging to the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors, certified for infrared thermal imaging. We provide move-in certified, thoroughly inspected homes for home sellers to actually have lawn signs that say, "I'm proud of my home that I'm selling." And for those first home buyers, we actually spend more time with you to explain the engineering and sciences around houses and answer your questions, and we offer this service free of charge to the first time home buyer. For more information, go to our website, fpp.ca.